My name is Elena Hartley, and I was 28 years old when I discovered that my entire family had been lying to me for 7 years. It started with a phone call from a lawyer I had never heard of. Ms. Hartley, this is attorney Bernard Walsh. I'm calling regarding the estate of your late grandmother, Florence Hartley. I sat up straighter in my office chair. My grandmother had passed away 7 years ago, back in 2016. Why was a lawyer calling me about her estate now in 2023? I'm sorry, but I don't understand. My grandmother's estate was settled years ago. There was a pause on the other end. Ms. Hartley, I think we need to meet in person. There are some documents you need to see. Can you come to my office tomorrow? Something in his tone made my stomach tighten. What kind of documents? Attorney Walsh hesitated. Documents that suggest you may have been the primary beneficiary of your grandmother's will. Documents that were never properly executed. I drove to Attorney Walsh's office the next morning with my hands gripping the steering wheel too tightly. My grandmother Florence had been my favorite person in the world. She had raised me more than my own mother had, teaching me to cook, helping me with homework, and always believing in my dreams. When she died suddenly of a heart attack in April 2016, I had been devastated. My older sister Vanessa had handled all the funeral arrangements with our mother, Diane. I had been so grief-stricken that I let them take care of everything. At the funeral, my mother had told me that Grandma Florence had left her house and savings to be split equally between Vanessa and me. The house was sold 6 months later and I received a check for $47,000, my half of the proceeds. Vanessa got the same amount. Or so I thought. Attorney Walsh's office was in a tall building downtown. His secretary led me to a conference room where he was waiting with several thick folders spread across the table. Ms. Hartley, thank you for coming. Attorney Walsh was in his 60s with kind eyes and a serious expression. Please sit down. I sat, my heart pounding. What is this about? He opened the first folder carefully. I was your grandmother's attorney for 30 years. I drafted her will in 2014, 2 years before she passed away. In that will she left specific instructions. He slid a document across the table. I picked it up with shaking hands. It was my grandmother's will, dated March 12, 2014. I started reading. I, Florence Marie Hartley, being of sound mind and body, do hereby bequeath my entire estate to my granddaughter Elena Rose Hartley, including my home at 847 Maple Street, all bank accounts, investments, and personal property. I read the sentence 3 times. My entire estate. To me. Not split with Vanessa. Just me. I don't understand, I whispered. My mother said the estate was split equally between my sister and me. Attorney Walsh's expression was grave. That's not what the will states. Your grandmother left everything to you. The house, her savings account which contained $340,000, her investment portfolio worth approximately $180,000, and all personal property. I felt dizzy. Over $500,000. All supposed to come to me. But I only received $47,000. From the house sale. Attorney Walsh nodded slowly. That's what I discovered. I was traveling abroad when your grandmother passed away in April 2016. I had left instructions with my associate, but there was a miscommunication. Your mother claimed she had the original will and would handle the estate without legal assistance. He pulled out another document. This is a copy of the will your mother submitted to probate court. It's dated January 2016, 3 months before your grandmother died. In this version, the estate is split equally between you and your sister Vanessa. I stared at the document. It looked official. It had my grandmother's signature. But something felt wrong. Is this will real? Attorney Walsh shook his head. I don't believe so. I never drafted this document. The signature appears to be your grandmother's, but I have reason to believe it's forged. I've hired a forensic document examiner to analyze it. My mind was spinning. Why are you telling me this now? It's been 7 years. Attorney Walsh pulled out more papers. I only discovered the discrepancy 2 months ago when I was reviewing old files. I immediately started investigating. What I found is deeply concerning. He showed me bank records, property transfer documents, and email exchanges. My mother and sister had sold my grandmother's house in October 2016 for $520,000, not the $94,000 they had told me. They had split that money between themselves. They had also divided the bank accounts and investments, giving me nothing. The $47,000 I received had been a calculated payment to make me believe I had gotten my fair share. They had stolen over $450,000 from me. My own mother and sister. This is fraud, I said, my voice barely audible. Yes, Attorney Walsh agreed. This is estate fraud, forgery, and theft. These are serious criminal charges. I felt like I couldn't breathe. My mother had helped my sister steal my inheritance. The two people who were supposed to love me most had conspired to take what my grandmother had left specifically for me. What can I do? I asked. Attorney Walsh leaned forward. We can file a lawsuit to contest the fraudulent will and recover your rightful inheritance. We can also report this to the district attorney for potential criminal prosecution. But I need to warn you, this will destroy your family relationships. Are you prepared for that? I thought about the past 7 years. Every family dinner where my mother and Vanessa acted normal. Every holiday where they smiled and hugged me knowing they had stolen from me. Every time I had struggled financially while they lived in comfort with my money. Yes, I said firmly. I'm prepared. They chose to betray me. I'm just choosing to fight back. Over the next 2 weeks, Attorney Walsh assembled our case. The forensic document examiner confirmed that the second will was a forgery. The signature had been traced from another document, and the paper and ink didn't match materials used in 2016. We had bank records showing that my mother and Vanessa had divided money that should have come to me. We had the house sale records showing they had lied about the sale price. The evidence was overwhelming. On March 15, 2023, we filed a civil lawsuit against my mother Diane Hartley and my sister Vanessa Hartley for fraud, theft, and conversion of estate assets. We demanded the return of all stolen funds plus 7 years of interest and investment gains. The total amount we were suing for was $687,000. The sheriff delivered the lawsuit papers to my mother's house on a Tuesday morning. She called me 30 minutes later. Elena, what the hell is this? You're suing me and your sister. I had been expecting this call, but my hands still shook. His mom. I know about the will. The real will. There was a long silence. When my mother spoke again, her voice was cold and hard. I don't know what lies some lawyer has been feeding you, but your grandmother left her estate to both you and Vanessa equally. That's what the will said. I had the real will in front of me. I knew she was lying. No, Mom. Grandma left everything to me. You forged a second will and stole my inheritance. And I'm going to prove it in court. My mother's voice rose to a shout. You ungrateful little brat. After everything we've done for you, this is how you repay us? By dragging us into court based on some conspiracy theory. I felt surprisingly calm. It's not a theory. It's documented fact. The forensic examiner proved the will you submitted was forged. I have bank records showing you and Vanessa split money that was supposed to be mine. I have everything, Mom. Another long silence. You're making a huge mistake, Elena. Family is everything. Don't destroy this family over money. You destroyed this family when you stole from me, I replied quietly. I'm just making it public. I hung up before she could respond. My phone immediately started buzzing with texts. Vanessa, how could you do this to us? We're your family. My Aunt Karen, Elena, your mother is devastated. Why are you doing this? My cousin Blake, this is really low. Suing your own mother. Nobody was asking if the accusations were true. They were just angry that I had dared to fight back. I turned off my phone and went to work. I was a graphic designer at a mid-sized marketing firm. My boss, Tanya, had been supportive when I explained I might need time off for legal proceedings. Do what you need to do, she had said. Family stuff is never easy. Over the next month, the lawsuit progressed. My mother and Vanessa hired an attorney named Douglas Freeman. He was expensive and aggressive, which told me they were taking this seriously. Attorney Walsh and I met with Douglas Freeman for a settlement discussion in April. Freeman was a tall man in his 50s who looked at me like I was something unpleasant he had stepped in. Ms. Hartley, my clients are willing to offer you $100,000 to settle this matter and drop the lawsuit. I almost laughed. You stole $687,000 from me, and you're offering $100,000? Freeman's expression didn't change. My clients dispute your characterization of events. They believe the will they submitted was legitimate. However, in the interest of family harmony, they're willing to make a goodwill payment. Attorney Walsh spoke before I could. Your clients forged a will, which is a felony. They committed estate fraud, which is also a felony. The forensic evidence is irrefutable. We're not interested in settlements that don't include full restitution. Freeman leaned back. Then we'll see you in court. And I should warn you, fighting your own mother and sister publicly will not make you look good. Juries don't like children who sue their parents. Juries also don't like people who forge wills and steal inheritances, Attorney Walsh countered. We'll take our chances. The settlement meeting ended with no agreement. As we left, Attorney Walsh turned to me. They're going to try to paint you as the villain. They'll say you're greedy and ungrateful. Are you ready for that? I thought about my grandmother Florence, who had loved me enough to leave me everything she had. I thought about how my mother and Vanessa had betrayed that love and stolen from me. I'm ready, I said. The lawsuit was scheduled for trial in September 2023. We spent the summer preparing. Attorney Walsh deposed my mother and Vanessa, questioning them under oath about the will, the estate, and the money. Both of them stuck to their story. They claimed the second will was real and that they had done nothing wrong. But their depositions revealed inconsistencies. My mother couldn't explain why she hadn't used Attorney Walsh, who had been my grandmother's lawyer for decades. Vanessa couldn't explain why the house sold for so much more than they had told me. In July, Attorney Walsh dropped a bombshell. I found something interesting. Your mother made several large purchases in late 2016 and early 2017. A new car, a kitchen remodel, a vacation to Europe. All paid in cash. He showed me the receipts and records. She spent approximately $140,000 in 6 months. That lines up exactly with her share of your stolen inheritance. We added these purchases to our evidence file. We were building an undeniable case. In August, 1 month before trial, something unexpected happened. My Aunt Karen called me. We hadn't spoken since the lawsuit was filed. Elena, I need to talk to you. Can we meet? I was hesitant. About what? Karen's voice was serious. About your grandmother's will. I have information you need to hear. We met at a coffee shop near my apartment. Karen looked older than I remembered, her face lined with stress. I'm sorry I didn't reach out sooner, she began. I've been struggling with this for months. I waited, my heart pounding. What information do you have? Karen took a deep breath. I was there when your grandmother wrote her will. It was March 2014. She asked me to witness it. This matched what Attorney Walsh had told me. She left everything to me? I asked. Karen nodded. Yes. He was very clear about it. She said you were the only grandchild who truly cared about her. Vanessa had always been distant, focused on money and status. But you spent time with Florence. You loved her for who she was. Tears formed in my eyes. Then why didn't you say something when Mom submitted the fake will? Karen looked ashamed. I didn't know about the fake will until recently. Your mother told me the estate was being split equally, and I assumed that's what Florence had decided to do. I didn't question it. She pulled out her phone. But last month I was cleaning out some old boxes. I found this. She showed me a photo. It was a picture of my grandmother's will, the real one, dated March 2014. Karen had taken a photo of it the day she witnessed it. This proves the real will existed, I said, staring at the image. Yes, Karen agreed. And I'm willing to testify in court about what I witnessed. I'm willing to tell the truth even though it means going against my sister. I felt overwhelming gratitude. Thank you. This means everything. Karen squeezed my hand. I'm sorry I didn't speak up sooner. I was trying to keep the peace, but that was wrong. You deserve what your grandmother wanted you to have. Attorney Walsh was thrilled when I shared Karen's testimony and the photo. This is exactly what we needed. An eyewitness to the real will plus photographic evidence. Your mother and sister have no defense now. We added Karen to our witness list. I could only imagine how my mother would react when she found out her own sister was testifying against her. The trial began on September 18, 2023. The courtroom was surprisingly small and plain. Judge Patricia Caldwell presided. She was in her 50s with sharp eyes that missed nothing. My mother and Vanessa sat at the defendant's table with Douglas Freeman. They both glared at me as I entered with Attorney Walsh. Neither of them looked remorseful. They looked angry that I had dared to challenge them. The first day of trial focused on establishing the timeline. Attorney Walsh presented evidence of my grandmother's death in April 2016, the probate filing of the allegedly forged will, and the distribution of assets to my mother and Vanessa. Douglas Freeman objected frequently, trying to slow down our presentation. But the facts were clear and documented. On day 2 we presented the forensic evidence. The document examiner, Dr. Philip Hayes, testified that the second will was definitely a forgery. The signature was traced from another document, Dr. Hayes explained. You can see microscopic evidence of pencil marks under the ink where someone traced the signature before going over it in pen. This is a common forgery technique. Freeman tried to discredit Dr. Hayes, but the expert was unshakable. The evidence was scientific and irrefutable. On day 3 Karen testified. I watched my mother's face as her sister took the witness stand. Diane looked betrayed and furious. Attorney Walsh questioned Karen gently. Ms. Ellis, were you present when Florence Hartley created her will in March 2014? Karen's voice was steady. Yes, I was. Florence asked me to witness her will. She wanted to make sure everything was done properly. Walsh showed her the real will. Is this the document you witnessed? Karen examined it carefully. Yes. This is it. I remember because Florence made me read it before I signed as a witness. She wanted me to understand that she was leaving everything to Elena. Walsh then showed her the forged will. Have you ever seen this document before? Karen shook her head firmly. No. This is not the will I witnessed. Florence never created this document. Freeman cross-examined Karen aggressively, suggesting she was lying to help me. But Karen held firm. I'm telling the truth. My sister and niece forged that will and stole from Elena. I'm not going to be silent about it anymore. The courtroom was silent after Karen's testimony. Even Freeman seemed shaken. On day 4 my mother took the stand in her own defense. Douglas Freeman had her tell a story about how my grandmother had changed her mind in January 2016, deciding to split the estate equally between her granddaughters. Florence called me, my mother testified. She said she had been thinking about it and felt it wasn't fair to leave everything to just Elena. She wanted both girls to be treated equally. It was a believable story, except for all the evidence proving it was false. Attorney Walsh cross-examined my mother methodically. Mrs. Hartley, if your mother changed her will in January 2016, why didn't she use her longtime attorney Bernard Walsh to draft the new will? My mother hesitated. She said she wanted to keep it simple. She had me help her write it out. Walsh pressed harder. And you just happen to have the legal knowledge to properly format a will? You understand the requirements for a valid testamentary document. My mother's face reddened. I looked it up online. It's not that complicated. Walsh pulled out the bank records. Mrs. Hartley, can you explain these cash purchases you made in late 2016? A car for $45,000, a kitchen remodel for $67,000, a European vacation for $28,000. My mother stammered. I had savings. I used my savings. Walsh showed the court my mother's bank statements from before my grandmother died. According to these records, you had $8,000 in your savings account in March 2016. Where did the additional $132,000 come from? My mother couldn't answer coherently. Her story was falling apart. Vanessa didn't testify. Freeman had advised her not to, probably because she would have been destroyed under cross-examination. On day 5, both sides gave closing arguments. Freeman argued that family disputes over inheritance were common, and that my mother had acted in good faith based on what she believed were my grandmother's wishes. It was a weak argument and he knew it. Attorney Walsh's closing was powerful. This case is about betrayal. Elena Hartley's own mother and sister forged a will, stole over $600,000, and then lied to her face for 7 years. The evidence is overwhelming. The forensic proof of forgery, the eyewitness testimony, the financial records. The defendants had motive, they had opportunity, and they committed fraud. We're asking you to find in favor of Ms. Hartley and order full restitution of everything that was stolen from her. The jury deliberated for 6 hours. When they returned, the forewoman read the verdict. We find in favor of the plaintiff, Elena Hartley. We find that the defendants, Diane Hartley and Vanessa Hartley, did knowingly forge documents and commit fraud in the distribution of Florence Hartley's estate. The jury awarded me $687,000 in restitution plus $125,000 in punitive damages. A total of $812,000. I sat in the courtroom overwhelmed with relief and vindication. My mother and Vanessa looked stunned. They had truly believed they would get away with it. After the verdict, Judge Caldwell addressed the courtroom. This was one of the most clear-cut cases of estate fraud I have seen in my career. Mrs. Diane Hartley and Ms. Vanessa Hartley, your actions were reprehensible. You betrayed your own daughter and sister for money. She paused. I am also referring this case to the district attorney's office for potential criminal prosecution. Forgery and estate fraud are felonies in this state. My mother started crying. Vanessa sat in shocked silence. Attorney Walsh and I left the courtroom together. Outside, a few reporters were waiting. The case had attracted some media attention because of the large sum involved and the family betrayal angle. Ms. Hartley, how does it feel to win? One reporter asked. I thought carefully about my answer. It feels like justice. My grandmother wanted me to have her estate and my mother and sister stole it. I'm glad the truth came out. Another reporter asked, will you reconcile with your family? I shook my head. No. What they did was unforgivable. They chose money over me. I'm choosing truth over them. Over the next few months, the legal process continued. My mother and Vanessa appealed the verdict, but their appeal was denied. They were ordered to pay the full judgment. Since they had already spent most of the money, they had to sell assets to pay me back. My mother sold her house and moved into a small apartment. Vanessa sold her car and took out loans. I received my first payment of $200,000 in December 2023. More payments followed over the following months. By June 2024, I had received the full $812,000 judgment. The district attorney also filed criminal charges against both of them. In August 2024, they both pleaded guilty to felony fraud in exchange for probation and community service. They avoided prison, but they now had criminal records. I used the recovered money wisely. I paid off my student loans, bought a modest house, and invested the rest. I also started a scholarship fund in my grandmother's name for students studying art and design. My grandmother's passions. My relationship with most of my extended family was destroyed. My Aunt Karen was the only relative who still spoke to me. Everyone else sided with my mother, claiming I had been too harsh and vindictive. I didn't care. They hadn't been the ones betrayed and stolen from. In September 2024, 1 year after the trial, I received an unexpected letter. It was from my mother. Elena, I know you probably won't read this, but I needed to write it. I'm sorry for what I did. I can't explain why I did it except to say that I was jealous. Your grandmother always loved you more than she loved me. When she died and left everything to you, it felt like a final rejection. So I convinced myself that it was unfair, that you didn't deserve everything. I know that doesn't excuse what I did. I stole from you. I forged documents. I lied to your face for 7 years. I was a terrible mother. I don't expect you to forgive me. I just wanted you to know that I'm sorry and that I understand why you hate me. I read the letter 3 times. Part of me felt a small measure of satisfaction that she finally admitted the truth. But mostly I just felt sad. My mother had destroyed our relationship over jealousy and money. Nothing could fix that. I didn't respond to the letter. Some things were beyond repair. Instead, I focused on building my new life. I got a promotion at work, becoming the senior designer at my firm. I traveled to places I had always wanted to see: Italy, Japan, Ireland. I dated someone wonderful named Marcus who knew my whole story and loved me anyway. Life was good. Better than it had been in years. In November 2024, I visited my grandmother's grave for the first time since winning the lawsuit. I brought flowers and sat by her headstone. I got your money back, Grandma, I said quietly. I made sure your wishes were honored. I'm sorry it took so long. I felt a sense of peace sitting there. My grandmother had loved me enough to leave me everything. And I had loved her enough to fight for the truth. The following month, I received another unexpected contact. This time it was from Vanessa. She asked to meet for coffee. I almost said no, but curiosity won out. We met at a neutral location. Vanessa looked different. Older, thinner, less confident. Thank you for meeting me, she said quietly. I wasn't sure you would. I waited for her to continue. I wanted to apologize. Not because I think it will change anything, but because you deserve to hear it. What we did was wrong. I knew it was wrong when we were doing it, but I convinced myself it was justified. Mom made it sound like you were getting too much, like it wasn't fair. She paused. But the truth is, I was jealous too. Grandma Florence always preferred you. You were her favorite. When she left you, everything, it hurt. So when Mom suggested we could fix it, I went along with it. Vanessa looked at me with tears in her eyes. I'm sorry, Elena. I'm sorry for stealing from you. I'm sorry for lying to you. I'm sorry for being a terrible sister. I listened to her apology and felt a complicated mix of emotions. Part of me wanted to forgive her. Part of me wanted to tell her exactly how much she had hurt me. In the end, I chose honesty. Vanessa, I appreciate the apology. But what you did broke something that can't be fixed. You weren't just a terrible sister. You were a criminal. You and Mom stole from me for 7 years and only stopped because you got caught. I stood up to leave. I hope you've learned something from this. I hope you become a better person. But I can't have you in my life. The trust is gone. Vanessa nodded, tears streaming down her face. I understand. I just wanted you to know I'm sorry. I walked away from that coffee shop and never looked back. My mother had helped my sister take what was mine. But I had fought back. I had found the truth, exposed the lies, and taken everything back. More than that, I had learned my own strength. I had learned that I didn't need their approval or their love. I had my grandmother's love, proven in the will she left behind. And I had my own self-respect, proven in my willingness to fight for what was right even when it cost me my family. 7 years after my grandmother died, I finally had what she wanted me to have. Not just the money, but the knowledge that I was worthy of being loved, worthy of being chosen, worthy of fighting for. That was the greatest inheritance of all.